how do you recommend, or what process do you have people go through to decide what they need to delegate?
Oh, yes. There's lots of different ways to do this and lots of different answers for this. But a couple of factors to think through are, what are the things that you hate doing? Because what you hate, and this is another one of those um, fears that get in the way, is people assume, if I hate this, everyone hates this. That is also not true. Some of the things that I hate doing, my assistant loves doing. And when she told me she loved this, I was like, oh, I have 17 more things like this I can give to you. This is great. So figuring out the things that you hate to do that really drain your energy and take up your time, even if you're good at them or fast at them, there are things that you love that other people hate. Like, I love creating graphics. And I've had assistants who've said to me,
Oh, it's so
I know,
tedious.
like, we have tabs, but I hate making graphics. I hate having to pick the photo. I hate having to adjust the colors and the placements. And I'm like, give it back to me, because I love doing that. So I don't want you to do those things if you hate doing them and they're taking up way more time than they should. Right. So one place to start is like, what do you not like doing? And that can be a beginning list to pull from. But then there's some other criteria, right? What are the things that are just taking up the most amount of your time that don't require you specifically? They don't require you because of your role or your level of hierarchy or your particular skill set, right? There are things that other people are capable of doing and that someone else could do, especially if you train them properly. Someone else could do this because there's nothing special about it that means you have to be the one doing it. And if there's overlap between things you don't like and things that anyone can do, those are great. And things that take up a lot of time, those are great because you're going to get a bigger ROI. Then the other piece around it for me is looking at your team and saying, who do I have here that I can delegate to? Because sometimes saying, you know what, this person's really good at this thing. I could give them more things like that really leverage their strengths. Or my colleague told me, she really likes spreadsheets. I was like, great, I can give you more spreadsheet stuff to do. You want to organize my research? Amazing. I would happily have you do that. So when you know what people like and what they're good at, you can serve up more things to them. Even if there are things, again, that you might be good at yourself, that doesn't mean you have to keep it. And then the other piece is, where can people grow? Who do you have on your team who needs to develop in certain ways because they have career aspirations or you see potential for them? Delegating for their growth is another great way to invest in them while getting things off of your plate. So those are a couple of factors to consider. And then there's some other things around risk. How risky is it to delegate this if it goes wrong? What happens if you need to take it back? So we can talk through some of those things once you've identified a set of items that feel like the right things to delegate to the right folks.
I like the suggestion that you consider where they want to go in their career. One of the challenges with delegation, and I think this is also one of the fears of delegation, is that I'm overburdening my team. And so we think a lot about what to delegate, but I don't know if we actually pay enough attention to the things and how to handle the things that then maybe they should be delegating.
Yeah, there's a couple different parts to this. So first is recognizing that by delegating, you're not doing anything wrong, right? You're not overburdening your team. You're actually doing your job. So it is okay. And have those conversations with your team members when you are adding something to their plate, which we should be doing all the time. A new project starts, you're choosing to delegate something, there's a shift. You want to be talking to people about, where's your capacity at right now? What's taking up your time, right? How is this going to fit into your workload? And sometimes the answer is, okay, these other things have to get delegated, so you can help them learn how to delegate. And sometimes the answer is, oh, these things aren't that important. We're going to slow them down. We're going to pause them entirely. We're going to reduce the scope of something so that you have more time for something else. So you might need to help them make shifts in their work so that they have the space to take on something that you see as being higher level or higher priority for them or for the team. So we have to have those open communications, and we should be doing that all the time. I ask my team member every single week, I ask her, like, how's your capacity this week? This is part of our ongoing conversation of, if I'm giving you something big, like what else needs to shift on your plate so that all of the most important things can get done.
I think that's great. Yeah, the idea that it is a negotiation. There does need to be a conversation like, "You want this on my plate. Here are the things that I'm currently doing. Which one of these do you want slowed down or should I move in order to make room for this thing that has been added? Like, I'm happy to do it, but right now I'm concerned about, like, my time constraints." And that
Yeah.
allows you to sort of have a conversation about, like, the hierarchy of priorities with your boss and also setting the expectations that, like, "Look, I've been going full bore on this one project, and is it like, how do we wanna handle that? Like, if this still needs to be done by this deadline, then something has to happen with it, or can we move the deadline?" So that way everybody's going into it with sort of this idea that things are shifting. And I think what you also said really strikes a chord with me because jobs are so subjective. Like, we think about them in terms of structure and, like, there are all these, uh, roles that go with it, and I know some of that is just, because of HR and legal reasons, we have job descriptions, but the truth is that, like, the reality on the ground, you're constantly shaping your job.
Yeah. And there will be times where you delegate something to someone. I had this happen with a client where she delegated a task to a colleague, and that colleague came back and was like, no, this is below my job. This is not in my scope of work. Like, I looked at my job description. This thing you're asking me to do is outside of that scope, and I don't want to do this. And they had a real good conversation out of that because they reworked her job a little bit, her job description a little bit. And they also had a good conversation about, like, how do they have a working dynamic where sometimes you have to have each other's backs, right? Sometimes this isn't about delegating something that is going to be an ongoing piece of work that's a whole new responsibility that someone has to take on. Sometimes it's a one-off. You're going to be on vacation and you need someone to handle something.
Yeah,
And
that's a
so
great
you
point.
want to create a dynamic where, one, people can say, hey, this doesn't really work for me, and let's talk about why. Or how can we make this work so that we can both get what we need out of this moment?
Right. Or, "This doesn't really work for me, but I recognize you're in a jam, so I'll do it now, but can we set a plan so that way this isn't like a long-term change in my work responsibilities?" Because I think that happens all the time too, is like, you want to be the team player. It's very hard to say to your boss, "I don't want to do that."
Mhm.
That generally is not a great conversation, but, I think you can have the conversation like, "Look, this is kind of taking me on a path that I really don't wanna go on. I recognize you need the help right now. I'm gonna give you the help that you need right now, but let's figure out how, like, this gets moved to somebody who's more interested in this, who has, like, it has more meaning for them and where they wanna go." And I think bosses can handle that conversation.
Absolutely. And I think there's one other piece to this too, which is sometimes we have misunderstandings around what the work is when we haven't explained it clearly. Somebody looks at a task you've given them and they make a lot of assumptions if you have not given them the right information.
Mhm.
So they think it's going to take way longer than it should, or they have no idea how to do it. And so they get really nervous.
Yeah.
And it goes back to being really clear up front about, and I call it the swim method, which is, what does successfully done look like? What are all those different pieces that they need to know to make sure that when they're done, the trash cans have their liners in them? Then what could go wrong? Where are the places where they might get caught, or they might feel insecure, or they might not know what to do? If you can proactively think about the places where things can go wrong, you can preempt a lot of those insecurities by saying, here's some thoughts I put down for you so that where I find to be tricky, so that I want to make sure you know this up front. What information do they need? What logins, what criteria, what budgets, what deadlines, what templates, like all that set of information, put it into one place so they have it. And then why this matters, right? And this goes back to, like, hey, I'm in a jam. Like, this is why this matters this week. Or by you taking this on, I see this as helping you develop this particular skill. This is going to allow me to, work on that strategy document that is going to lead our team into the next quarter. Like, give them a reason to care, and can be a reason that it's helping you, helping your team, helping your organization, or helping them.